Here we are on August the 7th in the year of our Lord 2025. And as usual, I have a lot of great information for you tonight. Let me go ahead and click over here, Mertech on Rumble. Right down here, this is the video we're watching right now, episode 1647. It says upcoming, but as you all know, you are watching it. So let's go ahead and click on this. And let me close up the live chat here. And move that back. Okay, scroll down here and click the show more to open the description box. And down here we have Barry Cunningham, Devory Darkins, Doug in Exile, and Stewart Alastair. So got a lot good stuff. But before we get into that, I do need to give a shout out to Debbie888 Willis. Just started following my channel, so thank you very much, Debbie888 Willis. I appreciate you following my channel. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. Okay, Viper Senior commented on my light side of life for today. Debbie BS commented on my episode 1645, and Debbie BS commented on my extra 428A and 428B, and Debbie BS commented on my extra 428C. Also, Boink Mess commented on my extra 431C. So thank you very much, folks, for your comments. I really enjoy reading your feedback, and I appreciate your support. So thank you very much for that. Let me give this a thumbs up. Boink. There we go. Okay, let's get into this. Barry Cunningham. He had like a 5-hour video today. I'm going to start this out at the 3-hour, 18-minute, and 14-second mark, talking about Tulsi Gabbard drops bombshell info. Well, let's check it out, folks. All right.
Crazy, but anyway, all right. Back to news and a little interlude. Welcome to Rumble. If you guys have never been on my Rumble jump over, this is what I do. I play a little music to break the ice and begin talking about some more news. Now, we're going to be here a while, so let's jump right into it. So, Tulsi Gabbard did an interview on Laura Ingraham's show last night, which 92% of you people said you didn't see. So we're going to play that, and then she did another interview. So let's go with the first one, and let's react to it as we play it.
A grand jury investigation is now underway regarding the Trump-Russia hoax. The media enablers that peddled the lie for years, though, are circling the wagons.
This is extraordinarily stupid. It's extraordinarily stupid on so many counts. Barack Obama had nothing to do with this by anybody's accounts.
We're all for transparency on any potential corruption, right? But this is something that has been combed over for a decade now.
I think they're trying to create the appearance of progress in this investigation without actually making any progress.
I have nothing to do. Pam is doing a great job. I have nothing to do with it. I will tell you this. They deserve it. I was happy to hear it. I actually read it just like you did. I have nothing to do with it.
Here with reaction is Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence. Director Gabbard, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Laura.
There's a report tonight from the Federalist that the DOJ is actually asking you for more documents in its grand jury probe. Is that true? And what are they asking for now?
That is true, Laura, and I just want to point out how important this is, that Attorney General Pam Bondi, through the Department of Justice, is taking this necessary first step toward accountability, which is essential for the American people to begin to have any kind of trust in the integrity of our democratic republic. I met with the Department of Justice prosecutors today, and yes, they are committed to leaving no stone unturned as they conduct this grand jury investigation and find the truth. Obviously, we've already handed over the documents that we've declassified and released publicly over the last few weeks. They have more questions, and they're going to be really taking a deep dive into this, again, looking everywhere to find the truth and conduct this very serious investigation.
You heard the media reaction, and a lot of these same people were just buying lock, stock, and barrel what was sold to them during the 2016 election. But they're essentially saying this is all old news. This is such a stupid political move on their part. Into that, you say?
They are using the same old tactic that the deep state's propaganda arm in the media uses. Whenever they come across something that is true and that doesn't go along with whatever their narrative is that they're trying to shove down the throats of the American people, they first usually ignore it, as they did when I first released these documents a couple of weeks ago. They tried to ignore it. When they realized that they weren't going to get away with this, that this story was going to continue breathing life, we continued releasing new documents. Then they decided, oh, we'll take this approach of say, oh, this is nothing. There's nothing really to see here. This is bizarre. This is a conspiracy. These are the things that they do over and over and over again. And the next step they will take when they feel that they are not succeeding in getting rid of this truth that we have uncovered for the American people, then they will go down the route of we must destroy and smear and attack the credibility of those who are delivering the truth to the American people. They've done this to President Trump. They've done this to me. They've done this to so many different people, once again, who are trying to tell the American people the truth and expose these people, many of whom you just showed, for who they are as the propaganda arm of the deep state, which would have no power and no influence if they weren't able to feed their lies into a willing spokesperson through the propaganda media.
Now,
What she just described, she just told you. I guess we haven't heard the words deep state this much in a long time, especially on network air. What she just told you is that the media is working in cahoots with the deep state. Why is that important? Because that makes them complicit to the conspiracy. That's where they're going with this. And every single time Brennan and Comey, and well, Comey's kind of shied away, but Brennan's out there running his mouth and MSNBC keeps playing it, and they just sit back and go, okay, so you got the meter is still running. You keep furthering the conspiracy. And that's the problem they're going to have. And the other thing people should start asking people, even if you're on X and they start saying it's old news, well, if it was old news, why didn't they report the news back when it was good news or new news? Why are we just hearing about this right now? If you're such a omniscient media person, why didn't you report it? If it's no big deal, why did you just ignore it? Why did you not want people to know about it? And now you're doing your duty to try and cover it up.
Director, you said there was irrefutable evidence that Obama was the mastermind of this intelligence manipulation and the perpetuation of the Russia hoax. What is that irrefutable evidence for our viewers tonight?
Yeah, Laura, as you were playing those clips of these people like Morning Joe seemingly befuddled, saying that by no account is any of this true, I would challenge them to see if they've actually read the documents, every single page of the documents that we've released over the last couple of weeks. If not, go to odni.gov, G-O-V. It's all right there for anyone to see. And those who go in and read this will see how President Obama directed that a National Security Council meeting be called to talk about Russia, that the report that came out of that meeting was filled with tasks that were delivered by James Clapper's assistant to John Brennan and to other elements of the intelligence community. John Brennan was the head of the CIA at the time, all saying per the president's direction, per the president.
All right, so that's why they're freaking out. She actually just now tied in Obama positively. Many of us are like, yeah, Obama's involved. Yeah, Obama's involved. She just said it. The information here it is. Here it is. We're serving this up. Obama's involved. That's why the media is really, really freaking out.
Order. And very specifically, they were tasked to create an intelligence assessment that detailed how Moscow tried to influence the election, not if, but how. And this was the beginning of this manufactured intelligence assessment where they knowingly wrote things in this assessment that were false, and they knew they were false. They knew that they were basing it on discredited intelligence or documents like the Steele dossier that was politically motivated and that they knew was false. And this was how they came up with the Russia hoax that was then weaponized and used to try to delegitimize the president, President Trump, and to try to ultimately enact this years-long coup throughout his entire 4 years of his first administration. And
they further say that there's like this idea of saying that Obama is guilty of treason, that there's almost no chance that he's going to be charged or convicted of treason. So why even go there? And I'll pose that question to you.
The integrity of our democratic republic depends on the American people knowing the truth about what actually happened and seeking that accountability, bringing about that accountability. I don't know how else to characterize what happens when there is a sitting president of the United States, there is a director of the CIA, a director of national intelligence under President Obama, the head of the NSA, James Comey is the head of the FBI, all coming together, and this is documented in what we released, all coming together to create this lie with the intent of delegitimizing the duly elected president of the United States because the person they wanted to win actually lost. And the American people made their own choice in spite of everything that happened in that 2016 election, and they chose Donald Trump. This was not a one-off thing. This wasn't just, oh, well, they fudged the lines a little bit. They created a lie and propagated that lie in order to try to undermine the person that the American people chose to be our president and commander-in-chief.
To your point that you made earlier, that when they're losing on the facts, they demonize the messenger. And in this case, you're the messenger. And I think this is a big reason your opposition to the forever war syndrome. That's one reason. But then this was another reason they clearly did not want you in your position. And to that point, Mark Warner, of course, Democrat senator from Virginia, wrote on X today, Tulsi Gabbard is a threat to our national security and should be fired. He's taking his orders pretty well, don't you think, Director?
He has and continues to be a reliable soldier. And you're right there, Laura, to make that comparison, because these very same tactics they are using now are the same tactics that the warmongers of Washington have consistently used whenever anyone challenges them to say, hey, this does not serve the best interests of the American people. It does not make us more safe, secure, and free. So why are you doing this? Exposing these people for who they are. And once again, who is the deep state? What does it consist of? We're seeing this revealed in real time here. And it's important for the American people to pay attention and realize, like, hey, with the mainstream propaganda media, we got to pay attention. We got to use our common sense and recognize we should accept nothing they say at face value.
And how important is it to root out any remaining problems in these agencies, Director? Because we need our people to believe in the FBI, to believe in the CIA, to have or get rid of them altogether. I mean, I hate to say that, or just completely defund a lot of these intelligence agencies. If we can't trust them, if they're going to subvert democracy and subvert our presidency, why are we funding them?
Well, this is, and I'll go back to that Mark Warner tweet that you put out saying that I'm a threat to national security. Why? Because I'm actually exposing the truth. As Director of National Intelligence, I'm doing the work to go and root out those deep state bad actors within the intelligence community, because our country's national security depends on it. The rule of law requires it. The integrity of our democratic republic requires that, rooting out the truth, telling the truth to the American people, and bringing about that accountability. So yes, it is essential across the board, not only to root out the individual bad actors, but to enact the kind of institutional reform to make it so that these kinds of things cannot be allowed to happen again.
Director, thank you very much.
All right. So one of the things you want to take into account as you're watching this is what you learned at the end of before I jumped over. In football, there's a term when you put too many guys in one area and there's not enough people to cover the wide receivers. It's called flooding the zone. And what you're seeing President Trump do right now is he's completely flooding the zone. He's hitting them on the economic front. He's hitting them at tariffs. The economy's starting to rock. He's over here with the redistricting and coming at them there. And he's coming at them with the lawfare and naming names and basically just making the media feckless as well. And they can't keep up. They're not used to fighting so many different battles at the same time. They're not equipped for this. Because as they say stuff and as they do things, they expose something else. And so right now, they're completely discombobulated. They can't figure out what they should be doing and how they should be doing it. And all they can do is shut up, Tulsi, shut up. Stop talking about this. You're a threat to national security. Except the stuff that she's telling people, that was the threat to national security.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there, folks. Great stuff. This is a 5 hour and 18-minute video. And I started at the 3 hour and 18-minute mark. So if you want to see more of this, again, he has great stuff. The link is in the description box below. I clicked on that link to get here. So you can scroll down in the description box and click on that link to get to this video. Let me click on the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Barry Cunningham.
Also,
This is the video I shared with you. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here. And again, this is the video that I just shared with you. And here's the link to Barry Cunningham's channel if you want to go there. I do want to give a shout out to 0906der. Gave me a $5 super chat, so thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. Okay, let's scroll down here and see what Devory Darkins has to say about Adam Schiff dealt nightmare blow as DOJ launches criminal investigation. Now, folks, if you follow me any length of time at all, you know that I've been very impatient for some of this stuff to actually start moving. Okay, again, it's only been 7 months since Donald Trump took office. And to do things the right way, legally, it does take a little time. But again, I've shown my impatience. I think this stuff is starting to come to the forefront now, and I am so happy. Let's see what Devory has to say.
a Trump administration source telling The Angle that a criminal investigation of Adam Schiff is underway, conducted by U.S. Attorney's Office in Maryland for possible charges involving mortgage fraud. Now, this follows the story we broke last month when the Federal Housing Finance Agency sent a criminal referral to the DOJ alleging that Schiff, in multiple instances, falsified bank documents and property records to acquire more favorable loan terms. In a 2011 affidavit signed by the then California congressman, he certified that a property in Montgomery County, Maryland, is his primary residence. He also owns a condo in Burbank, California, which he's also claimed is his primary residence, and said so in 2023 during his campaign for Senate.
I think just about every member of Congress has a residence in their state and a residence back in D.C. since we're in session much of the week. And people make a family decision where they're going to have their kids. But our principal residence, our primary residence is in California. It always has.
Okay, well, then why did you say that the house in Virginia was your primary residence? So you could get a better rate on your financing? Was that it?
And it always will be.
Okay, let's make sure you guys have the full story. This actually kicked off July 15th when President Trump posted this, that he always suspected that Adam Schiff was a scam artist and committed some type of fraud in his life. And it just so happens to be mortgage fraud, which is so interesting because that's what Big Tish out of New York City, that's what she's been accused of doing. So I find that to be interesting, of course. And he did respond initially to this allegation by saying, since I led the first impeachment, Trump has repeatedly called for me to be arrested for treason. So in a way, I guess This is a bit of a letdown, and this baseless attempt at political retribution won't stop me from holding him accountable, not by a long shot. Now, obviously, Adam Schiff will never be able to hold Trump accountable. I think the tide has turned, and I believe Adam Schiff will probably be held accountable, in my opinion. But hey, there's more to this. Take a listen.
Ruh-roh. Well, Senator Schiff has not responded to us about these allegations, but we were able to find a statement that his campaign spokesperson gave to CNN back in 2023. She said that the Burbank condo is his primary residence, but Adams, California, and Maryland addresses have been listed as primary residences for loan purposes because they're both occupied throughout the year and to distinguish them from a vacation property. Well, the law does not work that way. Let me just say that, but nice try. Look, it's anyone's guess what happens next, but we're going to stay on this story.
Listen, at the end of the day, a lot of these stories that come out, there's only one thing that I want, and I'm assuming you want the same thing, which is accountability. I don't care how we get there. Can we just get there? Because someone like Adam Schiff, there's no question, he's as corrupt as they come. And I don't know how you go from being a representative to being a senator like that. The other thing is this: the people that claim they want to hold President Trump accountable were in the positions, I guess, to do so, are the same people who happen to be caught up in investigations themselves for corruption. Why is that exactly?
We're talking about second and third homes. Why does the Attorney General of New York State have what, a second mansion in Virginia? Adam Schiff with his other Maryland property?
No.
The house I saw was not a mansion.
No,
Which
but
is
the
worse,
reason
which is
why,
the thing
that's
that
because
she
she
is
wanted
slumlord.
exactly. She wanted
That
to
is
get
worse.
tax credits for having this in Virginia. And you've seen almost every one of the people who was investigating Trump, the Fani Willis, right? I mean, this is a basically unwell woman, it seems like, and her whole family
and
is
her
a
lover.
total disaster now. Yeah, Nathan Williams and all of that. And then you have Tish James. I mean, are any of the people who made a career out of investigating Trump, both in elected office, like Tish James, who was elected in 2018 on a campaign that was exclusively get Trump, not stop Trump. I mean, have any of these people covered themselves in glory? You look at Alvin Bragg. I mean, they are. It seems to me like if you are a Democrat with skeletons to hide, your solution is, okay, we're going to investigate Trump, and that will be enough for a long career in Democratic politics. I mean,
that right there is what's going on. Remember, what did Letitia James say that she was going to run on? Getting President Trump. What did Alvin Bragg say he was going to run on? Getting President Trump. What has Adam Schiff talked about 90% of the time? Donald Trump. And so this brings us to the bottom line. This is a classical mistake from Democrats, which is if you obsess over a former president to the point where you try to throw him in prison and his family, you know the pendulum is going to swing back your way and you will be investigated.
Now, I'm going to jump in here for a second. Do you recall anyone, when Obama was president, any Republican say that they're going to get him? That's all they've done with Donald Trump, is they're going to get him. They're going to hold him accountable. How about when Biden was in office? Now, there was a lot of Republicans that didn't have very nice things, but they didn't say that they were going to go after him. Okay? What is it with this Democrat Party? They're so vengeful. I don't understand how people can be like that. And then there's Democrat voters who just say, yep, that's what I'm voting for. What the frick?
I don't know why they don't see that, right? They're playing with fire. It ends up blowing up in their face. It ends up backfiring because they're too busy engaged with trying to take someone down instead of trying to lift the American people up. That's the fundamental mistake from Democrats.
Tulsi reports that Adam Schiff claims he lived in a one-bedroom apartment. How does a family of four, you're a developer, a very successful developer, how does a family of four live in a one-bedroom apartment?
Now it looks like Adam Schiff really did a bad thing. They have him. Now let's see what happens. It's not up to me. It's not up to, I stay out of it purposely. But it's mortgage loan fraud. It's a big deal. He defrauded banks and insurance companies and the federal government. But it's very simple. It's mortgage loan fraud. And you're right. That's a lot of people to live in a one-bedroom apartment, right? But he put it down. But he has a lot of other things far worse than that. So, no, Adam Schiff, they have him 100% on mortgage fraud. Now, if there's anybody else in this room except you would have no problem. But anybody else in this room, you'd have a problem. I'd have a problem.
Okay. Again, all we want is, okay, so that was the president, July 22nd, in the Oval Office. Again, all we want is accountability. Now, before we go to our next story, let's just hear a special message from today's sponsor. You know, 32% of workers just like you believe AI could impact their job opportunities. That's according to Pew Research.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there and show you that this video does come from Devory Darkins. I am subscribed to his channel. I'm giving him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's get back here to the description box. Got a lot of good chats. I really appreciate that, folks. I do want to, Rumble has given me a sponsor here that they want me to push. So let me go ahead, and this just take about a minute here. But they help promote my videos if I share this information out. So here we go.
Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit price just dropped. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash. All single origin, small batch and toxin free. Plus you're also getting 1. A gold spoon clip, because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. 2. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions. And 3. A black 1775 tumbler that says, I don't take life advice, or caffeine, from a wokesy witch. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/Mortep and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe.
My people, dear dumb people, this episode might not be for you. Fortunately, my audience is full of geniuses. Welcome to Doug in Exile, my people. Come on in. I've got 6 articles about the Supreme Court. This is only for smart people. Lucky for the smart people, I break all my stuff down to about a 3rd grade reading level so that anyone can understand it. Because if you can't get anyone to understand this show, I've failed. If I can't explain something to a 3rd grader, I'm a bad communicator. It's not because you're not smart enough. It's because I failed to do my job. That's what I believe about all public communicators. Welcome to Doug in Exile as we go through these 6 Supreme Court cases. Don't fear, this is going to be fascinating from only fascinating sources because I bring you guys the big stuff. And this is also, you guys are going to hate me for this one. It's in defense of Donald Trump. This is his longest lasting legacy as the Supreme Court. And you're going to hate saying this. And also, it's Mitch McConnell's longest lasting legacy and George H.W. Bush. Everyone, oh, we hate him. They gave us Clarence Thomas. Trump wouldn't have gotten his appointments without Mitch McConnell. So you have to go like, you know what? You guys are stinking rhinos, but thank you for helping to save the United States. Here's Mother Jones, the most hippie, awful leftist rag in the world. I love reading about the Supreme Court from this terrifying communist, awful rag. See, it's okay to read them as long as we call out their bias. The Supreme Court prepares to end voting rights as we know them. Yes, finally, we're ending the voting rights as we know them. Good, because we know them to be pretty bad. It is a truth universally acknowledged that if you want to hide what you're doing in Washington, announce it on a Friday evening in the heat of August. True, because then it dumps out and everyone forgets it by Monday. Better yet, in place of clarity, reference some pages in another document so that people have to track down and read it in order to grasp what you're telling them. Okay, now you've lost me. Too many words. You're not explaining it so that a third grader can understand. That's precisely what the Supreme Court did last week. Oh, I really doubt it, Mother Jones. But the news is too staggering to hide for long. Oh, no, I think it's going to be hidden for a while longer. The Republican-appointed justices have just decided it's time to fully destroy the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Thank you, Lord, for hearing my prayers. Although I really doubt that headline. 60 years ago, the Voting Rights Act ended the Jim Crow regime and transformed the country finally into a multiracial democracy. No, you dummies, we were multiracial forever. I'm Dutch and I'm only racist against the Dutch. So everyone gets mad at me if I'm racist against everything else. I'm fine with that. I don't want to hate. I don't show any hatred against any other ethnicity or race than the Dutch. I'm incredibly racist against white, stubborn, giant, tall, opinionated, Reformed Christians, albeit an imperfect one. But the court's quiet announcement, it would return to a paused case. The justices are now preparing to take us back to a time when elected officials at all levels of government were white. This is bull crap. I can't even read this, guys. I'm trying to give Mother Jones a few minutes of my program. It's so terrible. You guys are full of crap anytime you start doing the white stuff. Clarence Thomas is black last time I checked. I don't care, okay? I literally don't care what Mother Jones and hippies and people that claim that I'm racist because or that a justice is racist because he's white. In fact, they'll say Clarence Thomas is racist because he's black, because they're full of crap. Here's MSNBC. New headline on the Supreme Court. Deadline legal blog. Are you ready for this? We're getting all the hippies, liberal communists reporting our news out of the way. Other shows give you right-wing sources. I give you guys mostly left-wing sources. I think it reveals everything about their plans and their lies and what dumb people think. Will the Supreme Court put its foot down on the 10 Commandments displays at school? The latest ruling against public school displays of the religious symbol raises questions of how and when the justices might handle the brewing issue, says Jordan Rubin. I read Jordan Rubin all the time. This is from yesterday. Flamin' lefty, often wrong, but I think he's a thoughtful writer. I like his vocabulary. The Supreme Court closed its most recent term with an important ruling on religion in public schools. In Mahmoud versus Taylor, I'm going to assume that Mahmoud does not involve my Christian religion, but still it ought to apply to Muslims. In Mahmoud versus Taylor, the Republican-appointed majority sided with parents seeking to opt their elementary school children out of instruction involving LGBTQ inclusive books. So these are the gay books that they're trying to push on your kids, and Christians have no backbone to fight this in school. So who came and rescued us? Mahmoud. The Muslims, they have balls, and the left will listen to them because the left agrees with Mahmoud. The left hates Christians so much that they love Muslims. That's what Dennis Prager used to say. All it took for Islam to become America's favorite religion was for them to smack 2 planes into our buildings. So this is about LGBTQ inclusive books, which Islam forbids. over Democratic appointed dissent that said the court was casting aside longstanding precedent to usher in a new reality. Now the justices prepare to retake the bench in October for their next term. Another contentious religion in school issue is working its way through the lower courts. It's not contentious to those of us who do not fear the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments, by the way, for which all law is based on. The Ten Commandments. The reason why America says murder is wrong is because the Ten Commandments says murder is wrong. The reason why it's wrong to misrepresent yourself on a contract and lie is because the Ten Commandments says it's wrong to lie. How's that? The new issue is actually an old one, the Ten Commandments. It's not just old in a biblical sense, but also in a modern American legal one, because the Supreme Court seemingly settled the matter in 1980. In a case called Stone versus Graham, the court rejected a Kentucky law requiring public schools to display the biblical commands. Well, that was under a very draconian left-wing Supreme Court. So play stupid games, win stupid prizes. We won this time. So now those lefty atheists, those liberal atheists, and by the way, even if you're a Christian, if you remove the Ten Commandments from all of the public spheres, you're acting and conceding to an atheist worldview. Atheism demands that you remove all forms of religion. And atheism is, in and of itself, a materialist pagan religion. Atheists don't agree with that, but that's my opinion, and I'm dug in exile. Nonetheless, that's not a reason being dug in exile. I know. Nonetheless, red states have sought to revive the practice. We love the Ten Commandments. Who could hate it? But they've run into a problem. The courts. More specifically, they've run into the Constitution. Now, that's not true. Not stated in the Constitution. It says Congress will make no law restricting the practice of religion. Get it right, MSNBC. Oh, it's MSNBC. Need I say more, guys? The Supreme Court precedent and judges willing to apply those tools to the facts. MSNBC says, to the facts at hand. No, NBC, those aren't the facts. Empirically, let's get into empiricism. I could talk about David Hume, who said that empiricism can be the only standard. That is, whatever I can see, feel, taste, or touch is the only thing that is true. And everything else is faith. And great faith claims require great proof before you should believe them. By the way, Thomas Jefferson, huge fan of David Hume, had some back and forth with him back in the founding. Thomas Jefferson, who still referenced God so many times. According to the constitutional scholar, Hank Jaffa, the father of conservative movement, he studied under Strauss, who was a great thinker in Germany. And the Nazis started hunting him. So he left Germany, comes to America, comes to Yale and goes, you know what? We need to start over. We need to go back to the great books because all the smart people in Germany started hunting me for what I thought. His first student, Hank Jaffa, the greatest constitutional scholar in American history, the first Jew allowed into Harvard. He was a professor, studied under him, guys like Hugh Hewitt, Larry Arnn at Hillsdale College, where number one influenced Harry Jaffa. Harry Jaffa believed, of course, you must protect belief in God. Of course, you cannot ground the law in anything but God's law, and his influence lives on today. He's a staggering opinion maker in my worldview. I always loved him because he talked about the Supreme Court and he started ripping on Scalia, saying he was too far to the left. How radical was Jaffa? He started ripping on Scalia. He's a little far to the left for me. The most right-wing Supreme Court justice in history. Okay, but man, I'm just going on and on. Sorry. Shut your mouth, Doug. The latest example came Monday when a federal judge issued a preliminary injunction against an Arkansas law on the Ten Commandments displays. It's not just old in a biblical sense, but also, okay, that's a pull quote. U.S. District Judge Timothy Brooks didn't seem to, okay, you know what? I don't care. I know you guys are going to be bugged by me. I can only make it halfway through these liberal rags. They're so wrong. It's so obvious Kentucky as a public institution can post the 10 Commandments. It's so obvious that you can forbid LGBTQ books being read to children. Don't care what your argument is. I could argue against it and give you the facts, but you wouldn't believe them anyways. So instead, I'll just make fun of you and call you names again. You're Marxist, pagan, satanic, totalitarians. I wish I was joking. Here's The Guardian on another case. Brilliant. Again, The Guardian, leftist rag. I want you guys to get used to reading leftist rags and hearing leftists lie to you, because they give away their whole plan and their whole strategy every single time. Here's the Guardian. This is even, the UK. This is the US version of The Guardian, but we stole your country because you guys sucked and we were ordained by God through a manifest destiny to steal this country. The U.S. Supreme Court paved the way for Texas gerrymandering mess, says Stephen Greenhouse. Now, this involves that Texas gerrymandering, which goes into the number one strategy Trump has, we said in the last video, of keeping Democrats from being able to impeach Donald Trump. The Texas Republicans rushing to fulfill Donald Trump's wish to gerrymander to the max, because Democrats did. Many Americans are no doubt wondering why there isn't some referee to stop this hyper-partisan race to the bottom that is poisoning our democracy. You mean, well, Democrats are doing it first. We're just following. We just have to do it. The Supreme Court should be the referee that puts a halt to this ugly, undemocratic mess. I agree. They should come in and stomp all over states' rights, guys, and say, states, you're not free to gerrymander or redistrict anymore. We're the Supreme Court. It all ends. So either it all ends or it's all allowed. And if it's all allowed, then don't get mad at Trump for saying, Texas, it is gerrymander time. Every Republican state, it is gerrymander time. This undemocratic mess, but in a short-sighted 5-4 ruling in 2019, the court's conservative majority essentially told state legislature that anything goes when it comes to gerrymandering, on the principle that Chief Justice Roberts and the Supreme Court in 2019 believed in robust state rights in determining how they redistrict their own states. So guess what? It's going to be gerrymandering up the yay for the near future until we exaggerate so much and do it so ridiculously that elections don't even matter. Their message was, no matter how extreme the gerrymandering, we'll look the other way. Amen, brother. That's why Trump has a mandate. Guys, go gerrymander like the wind, my people. Next article, the SCOTUS blog. Will the Supreme Court re-enter the vaccine wars? I hope so. Now, on this front, I'm going to tell you, before even reading this article, where I stand. Parents have control of their kids' bodies before the state. That's the principle. If a Seventh-day Adventist or I don't know who else is against blood transfusions, I can't remember if it's them or Jehovah's Witnesses or Christian Scientists. If a parent says no blood transfusion, no blood transfusion. If an Amish has whatever about their kid, or some parent says no vaccine, then it is no vaccine. The state does not have authority over a parent. That's just a principle. It's been more than 5 years since the start of the COVID-19 panic, but legal disputes from the pandemic continue to arise, and the Supreme Court may not be done weighing in. At least 3 petitions related to COVID-19 vaccine mandates are currently awaiting the justice's review for the 2025-26 term, including 2 focused on access to religious exemptions. Boy, am I for religious exemptions. Congress shall make no law curtailing religious expression or the practice thereof. Don't mess. You will have a war on your hands. That's why we founded this country, sucker. Does 1-2 versus Hochul centers on a New York state mandate issued in 2021, but since repealed, that required employees at hospitals and nursing homes to be vaccinated against COVID-19 if they could expose patients, residents, or other employees to the virus infected. That's always the trade-off, guys, and we've heard this going all the way back to the founders. You trade off liberty for security. That's how they buckle down your free speech. That's how they buckle down your right to bodily autonomy. They go, hey, we will make you safe if you just give up your freedom. We'll keep people from being killed, and all you have to do is let us decide instead of you.
Okay, he's got about 5 minutes more of this, but I'm going to go ahead and pause it here and move on. But this video that I just shared with you does come from Doug in Exile. I am subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same for me. All right, let's jump back here and wrap this up with Stewart Alastair. Now, I'm sure you've heard about the Republican state representatives leaving Texas because they don't want a vote on the redistricting of Texas. So let's see what Stewart Alastair has to say about this.
Yes, we have a challenge before us. Dr. King reminded us that life is an inescapable network of mutuality, tied to a single garment of destiny. What impacts one directly impacts all indirectly. And that's what we're facing now, this challenge of it not being Texas. It's not just Texas. It really is the United States of America, because if they succeed in Texas, they will take this to other states. They will take this to the county court level. They will take this to the commissioners, the school boards. They will take this across the length and breadth of the country, but they'll do it if we only stand by and watch them. But if we take a stand, we can stop them. That's what we're doing today. We're taking a stand, and we're going to prevent them from going forward in Texas. All right. Here's why we have to take this stand. Because one vote makes a difference. One vote makes a difference. It was one vote that allowed them to get the big, ugly steal out of the House. One vote. And it was one vote in the Senate, with the vice president casting that vote, that allowed it to get out of the Senate and back to the House. Friends, I regret to tell you that the 18th Congressional District was not represented when that first vote took place. It was not. If the 18th had been represented, they'd have to find that one vote someplace else. One vote makes a difference. And in Texas, they have tried to silence 5 Democratic voices in the Congress of the United States of America. They have already made an effort to eliminate some of the districts. They're no longer going to be, there's no possibility of Democrats being elected. They are doing what the president has insisted be done, and I want you to know that we didn't introduce the race card. When this message was sent by and through the Justice Department to the state of Texas, to our Attorney General, they mentioned the race card because they talked about racial gerrymandering. They brought it up, and when they brought it up, they did it knowing that this was a buzzword. It was a trigger. They knew that if they could use the race card in Texas, where we've had white primaries, and when the Supreme Court said, well, you can't do that, then we had white pre-primaries, where we've had all sorts of obstacles to voting. They knew that that's a buzzword that people would respond to in Texas. But we are going to respond to that buzzword by telling them that your racism is not going to change democracy in the state of Texas, is not going to change it in the United States of America. Racism is going to be met with our taking a stand for democracy. You take a stand for racism, we will stand for democracy, and we will win. And we will win. Democracy is going to win.
You should probably can tell that he is in fear of, well, losing his seat. And I love to see him go. I don't want Jasmine Crockett to lose her seat. I think that she is a net plus for the GOP. Sorry, I don't want her to lose her seat. But in the interest of, team building, Jasmine Crockett got to go too. Now, with all this blustering about one vote, guess how many times Kamala Harris cast a tie-winning vote in the Senate? 33. 33 times she cast a winning vote. There was not a peep out of Democrats. They just, that's right. The only reason, by the way, let me give you a heads up, all right? The only reason he mentions Martin Luther King Jr. is because he wants everybody to think that we're living in 1950. That's the only reason he brings that name up. It's not that he has any, affinity towards him. He brings it up to shut you up. That's the only reason. Yes, Al Green, but not the real Al Green. But yes, you're going to lose your seat.
My final comment is this. As you know, the president and I don't exchange Christmas cards. The president is a very vindictive person. He is a don't bring me any bad news person. Just fired someone because he got bad news. We friends have to understand what we're dealing with. And if we understand what we're dealing with, we can stop what we're dealing with. We're dealing with an egomaniacal person who believes that he has to be right, and if he's not, then the world is wrong. He would impeach judges that differ with him. He would fire people that don't give him good news. He would change congressional districts just to get rid of people that have challenged him.
Now, here's what you got to know, all right? Because I got to pour some cold water on this because it's utter and complete nonsense. Okay, Democrats have been gerrymandering up the yin yang. Okay, I come bearing receipts. All right. So with no further ado, let's get into this.
They expect us to take the punch and say thank you. Well, I am here to tell you, not only are we going to punch back, but we're about to beat you down.
Plans to deliver on childcare, plans to deliver on housing, plans to deliver. We're going to experiment. We're going to try things on groceries. That is the Democratic message.
Democrats talking about their plan. Joining us tonight, Mark Levin, host of Life, Liberty, and Levin here on Fox, nationally syndicated radio host and author of the new book, On Power. Mark, great to have you here. I wanted to,
Thanks for having me,
we're going to talk
brother.
about the book and the specifics. Been through it. It's an interesting, great read. But I want to talk to you about the redistricting fight we're seeing in Texas and what Democrats are pledging in other states and how that all plays out.
Well, I don't know what else they can do. I looked at some of these states. In California, they have 43 Democrat representatives and 9 Republicans. In Illinois, they have 14 Democrats and 3 Republicans. In Maryland, they have 7 Democrats and 1 Republican. In New York, they have 19 Democrats and 7 Republicans. They've already gerrymandered their states. And even more than that, Brett, people forget in 2020, the Census Bureau confessed that it made a number of errors that cost the Republicans additional seats, up to 5 seats. Florida was supposed to get 2 more. Texas was supposed to get another one and so forth. Instead, Rhode Island held on to a seat and so forth, and they admit their error. These dark blue states have already blown out Republicans over and over and over again. I mean, this California number is stunning. 43 Democrats, 9 Republicans. You know, the population in California between the Republicans and the independents far outnumber the Democrats, and yet they control the vast majority of seats. So I'd say to the Republicans, you're fighting fire with fire. That's okay.
They expect
You're fighting fire with fire. That's what ends up happening right now. That's what you see happening. So Donald Trump calls them like, hey, let's start redistricting now. We're going to do it right now. I don't give a crap about the census because you can't rely on the census. Okay. What you just heard here, I got to show you this. This is from the Heritage Foundation. Census Bureau errors distort congressional representation for states. This is insane to me. As a result of these consensus errors, Florida did not, let me repeat, did not receive 2 additional congressional seats, and Texas did not receive 1 more congressional seat. Meanwhile, 2 other states, Minnesota and Rhode Island, each retained a congressional seat that they should have lost. and Colorado gained a new seat to which it was rightfully not entitled. The harms flowing from these mistakes impact more than just congressional representation, which also affects a number of electors from those states, since they are calculated by the number of senators and representatives. Because the Treasury and other federal departments will continue to use the original official consensus numbers, not the new numbers contained in the PES, these errors will affect 1.5 trillion in funding received by states in federal appropriations during the next decade in distributions that are distributed based on population of each state. This has like ramifications. They admit to the error. They admit they materially changed the electorate, but no changes were made. And so now Democrats want to yell foul, knowing full well about this. And how in the world, look at this, hang on a second. That's California, 2024. You see all that red? Yet Democrats control the entire state. What you just heard. Get this, 43 Democratic seats to 9 Republicans. You want to know how Gavin Newsom won? You're watching it. And all those dense population areas like LA and all of those coastal elites, they don't represent California.
Okay, great stuff, great stuff. And that's why I wanted to play this, because he actually goes into detail to show how, even the census is all screwed up. Now, if you recall, back when Donald Trump took office in 2017, there was talk about the census and how they wanted to have one question on there: are you a citizen of the United States? And the Democrats fought that tooth and nail, kept fighting it, till it was got to the point that it was too late to actually change the actual, document that was sent out before the census was due. So they have a certain amount of time that they have to print all these documents up to mail them out to everybody. Sure, that cost billions upon billions of dollars. But they had a deadline where, the questionnaire had to be ready to go out by this deadline, and the Democrats extended it out so far that it went past the deadline and it just didn't matter. They couldn't change the questionnaire for the census because the Democrats would not allow them to ask the question, are you a citizen of the United States? Yes or no? On that questionnaire. I wonder why. Okay, let me click on this Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from the Stewart Alastair edition. I'm following the channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. And if you don't mind, folks, I would like to share one more sponsor with you here. And that would be SCOTUS Sports. Let me go ahead and play this. It's about a minute.
All right, outdoor crew, if you're into fishing, camping, or getting off the grid, meet your new best friend, the Hunter Orange 25-quart cooler from SCOTUS Sports.
This isn't your average cooler. It's rotomolded for max durability, bear-proof, and 20% lighter than other brands, so it's easy to haul whether you're deep in the backcountry or just setting up at the dock.
You'll get up to 3 days of ice retention, thanks to thick, high-performance insulation. That means cold drinks, fresh food, and fewer ice runs, whether you're chasing muttons offshore or posted up at a campsite.
Best part?
It's 40 to 50% cheaper than the big name coolers, but still built to perform season after season. And like all Caddis Sports name brand gear, it's proudly made in the USA.
Use code RUMBLE at checkout for 10% off your order today. That's caddisports.com. Go grab the Hunter Orange 25Q cooler and keep your next adventure ice cold.